I first spotted Mimi in what could only be described as a kaleidoscopic alleyway that made my head spin faster than a drunken carousel horse. The walls weren't just painted, they seemed to be alive, breathing in neon swirls that twisted and twirled in hues no ordinary human should be able to perceive without serious side effects. The air itself crackled with a kind of electric absurdity, a hum that tickled the hairs on the back of my neck and made me question whether I was still grounded in any recognizable reality or just slipping further down the rabbit hole of the calf's magic. There she was, perched before a canvas that defied all rules of art or physics, for that matter. The painting shifted and shimmered as if it had a heartbeat, colors bleeding and reshaping themselves mid-stroke, figures morphing into new forms before my eyes. It was the sort of thing that would either make a sane person run screaming or an artist weep with jealous awe. Mimi, however, was in her element. Wild hair dyed in colors that seemed to change depending on how you looked at them, and clothes that rippled with impossible patterns that felt more like a mood than fabric. She was the embodiment of the calf's new reality, untamed, unhinged, and unapologetically mad. "Ah, you must be Max," she said with a grin that was equal parts invitation and challenge. "I've been expecting someone like you." The reluctant hero type fighting to put the genie back in the bottle while the genie's busy painting graffiti all over the walls. I blinked, trying to keep up with her rapid-fire words and the swirl of colors that danced around her. "And you are Mimi, artist, agitator, and occasional chaos enthusiast." Her laugh was a cascade of tinkling glass and distant thunder, a sound so unexpected and utterly unplaceable that it sent a shiver down my spine. "You see," she continued, waving a brush that left trails of shimmering paint in the air, "the Kafir's magic didn't just turn the world upside down. It set creativity free. It tore down the walls of dull routine and let madness pour in like an uninvited but irresistible guest." I wasn't sure whether to be terrified or fascinated. Watching her paint was like witnessing a battle between order and chaos played out in vibrant strokes. The figures she conjured stepped off the canvas, mingling with the surreal cityscape, their forms twisting and laughing as they moved through impossibly warped streets. It was a living gallery of absurdity, and it beckoned to something deep inside me that I'd tried to suppress for years. "Why fight it?" Mimi asked, catching the hesitation in my eyes. "Why cling to the boring old normal when you can dance with the chaos?" Her words hit like a punchline with a sting because part of me was tempted. The madness promised freedom from the crushing weight of expectations, from the endless grind of trying to be funny and failing. It whispered that perhaps normalcy was a cage, and here was the key to breaking free. But then I remembered the mess I'd already made. The world was unraveling, and people were paying the price for my careless quip. I had a mission, even if it felt like a fool's errand. Our conversation spiraled into a philosophical debate, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of contradiction, mine darkened by doubt. Was chaos destruction, or was it a necessary rebirth? Was laughter always a balm, or could it wound as deeply as a knife? Mimi argued that in embracing absurdity, we could transcend the mundane and find new truths hidden in the madness. "Join me, Max," she said, stepping closer, "and you will see that the joke isn't over yet. There's beauty in the breakdown, a kind of art in the chaos." I hesitated, caught between the desperate need to restore order and the seductive allure of letting go. The calf's magic wasn't just a curse, it was a revelation, and Mimi was its most vibrant prophet. Could I resist the pull of this colorful tempest, or was I destined to be swept away by the laughter and lunacy? As the night deepened and the city hummed with surreal energy, I realized that my journey had only become more complicated. The line between sanity and madness wasn't just blurred, it was dancing a jig right in front of me, and Mimi was leading. The question wasn't just how to end the chaos, it was whether I wanted to. And with that thought swirling in my mind, I knew the next step wouldn't be easy. Because sometimes the most dangerous joke is the one you don't want to end. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and prepared for whatever came next. The dance of madness had only just begun, but oh, what a dance it promised to be. If you think the world is a cruel joke, then you haven't met the cafe of infinite laughter, a place where jokes aren't just told. They come to life, and sometimes they bite back. I found myself at the heart of that chaos, soaked in self-doubt and sarcasm, staring at the mess I'd unwittingly unleashed. But it was Luna, the cafe's barista with purple hair and a grin that could slice through reality, who handed me a lifeline wrapped in riddles. The air in the cafe was thick with the scent of stale coffee and something more elusive. Luna beckoned me towards a door tucked behind the counter, one I hadn't noticed before. It creaked open to reveal a cramped room-lined floor to ceiling with books, their spines cracked and pages yellowed, whispering secrets in a language I could almost understand. It was the kind of place where silence felt like a joke waiting to be told. Among the hundreds of volumes, one caught my eye, a dusty tome with a faded title, The Unfunniest Word and Other Cures for Comedy. Luna's eyes twinkled as she watched me pick it up. "This," she said, "is what you've been looking for, even if you didn't know it yet." I settled into a rickety chair, the book heavy in my hands, much like the weight of the chaos swirling outside. Luna poured us black coffee, the bitterness matching the gravity of her words as she began to speak. "The cafe's magic isn't just fun and games," she murmured, her voice low and sarcastic. "It's ancient, born from a well of laughter and madness that predates even the oldest jokes. There's a legend, a phrase, some say a curse known as the unfunniest word. It's said to be the only thing capable of silencing the endless punchline and undoing the havoc." I blinked, the idea both absurd and tantalizing. "Sounds like a magic reset button." Luna shrugged, her grin fading for a moment. "More like a double-edged sword. The unfunniest word doesn't just stop the jokes. It drains the laughter that fuels this place. Some say it risks killing the very soul of humor itself." I leafed through the fragile pages, each word a puzzle, each verse a warning. The unfunniest word wasn't just a single utterance. It was wrapped in riddles, cloaked in metaphor, and hidden in the folds of comedy's history. Yet, somewhere in those cryptic lines I found a spark of hope, a way to fix what I'd broken. As I read, the cafe around me seemed to fade away, the usual cacophony of laughter and absurdity dulling into a distant hum. Luna watched quietly, her usual mischievous demeanor replaced by something more serious, as if the weight of the secret threatened to crush us both. "If you were going to find it," she said finally, "you'll have to face more than just the trickster's pranks. The word is a key, yes, but also a lock. It can close the door on this madness, or trap you inside forever." I swallowed hard, the enormity of the choice settling in. Could I really silence the laughter and chaos? What would be left if I did? Before I could answer, a ripple ran through the room, distorting the air like heat haze on a summer day. In the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a shifting grin, the trickster, lurking, amused and watching. It was a silent warning the game had just gotten more dangerous. I closed the book, steeling myself. The path ahead was uncertain, littered with riddles and shadows, but it was the only way back from the joke that had become my life. With Luna's cryptic guidance and a fragile hope in my chest, I prepared to chase down the unfunniest word, a mythical cure for a comedy gone terribly wrong. As I stepped back into the cafe's surreal embrace, I knew one thing for sure: the laughter hadn't ended. It had only just begun, and this time, the punchline was mine to write. The city had never looked quite so absurdly wrong before. Or perhaps I'd just never really seen it for what it was, an endless, grotesque joke slowly unspooling at the edges. It started the moment I stepped outside the cafe of infinite laughter that morning, a place that had become my strange new reality and, apparently, my personal hell. The sun hung in the sky like a lazy neon sign, flickering with the occasional sputter and buzz, casting a sickly glow over the streets. But that was just the beginning. I noticed it first at the office building on 5th and Main. A suited man shuffled past, his briefcase clanking with an unsettling metallic sound. But as I blinked, the man no longer looked quite human. His arms elongated into drawers, and his torso morphed into a filing cabinet, drawers pulling open and shut with a rhythm like a heartbeat. The clicking of papers shuffling replaced his footsteps. Around him, others were undergoing similar transformations, office workers turning into literal bureaucratic monstrosities, paper limbs and ink-stained faces. Their voices a mix of muffled complaints and the rustling of documents. "Welcome to the new normal," Luna said from beside me, her bright purple hair a sharp contrast to the drab grays and browns of the twisted cityscape. She grinned, that mischievous curve of her mouth promising secrets yet to be revealed. Reality is fracturing. The calf's magic is seeping out, and it's turning social constructs into physical, absurd caricatures. I rubbed my eyes, trying to convince myself this was some elaborate prank or fever dream. But even as I did, a group of politicians crossed the street ahead, juggling flaming torches marked promises, campaigns, and spin. Their faces were painted with exaggerated smiles, the kind that never quite reached the eyes, and the crowd cheered with a sarcasm so thick it was almost tangible. Gerald stood nearby, arms folded tightly across his trench coat, his usual scowl deepened by the scene. "This place gets worse every damn day," he muttered, voice laced with bitter cynicism. "The more they juggle, the higher the stakes. One slip and everything goes up in flames, literally." I wanted to argue that maybe, just maybe, this chaos was a twisted kind of justice. That humor, even when dangerous, had a way of exposing ugly truths. But as I watched a bureaucrat collapse into a pile of shredded paperwork, I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. This wasn't just a joke anymore. It was a warning. "Luna," I said, lowering my voice as we ducked into a narrow alley shimmering with illusory colors. "How much longer can this keep going? What happens if this magic breaks reality completely?" She shrugged, her grin fading into something more serious. "That's why we need the unfunniest word, Max. To bring balance back. To stop the laughter from eating everything alive." Her words resonated with me as I stared into a cracked mirror leaning against the alley wall. My reflection wavered and twisted, caricaturing my anxiety into a grotesque mask. The crooked smile warped into a grimace. It was as if the city was mocking me, reflecting my own internal chaos. I was the punchline and the punchline was biting back. The more I moved through this fractured world, the more I saw the absurdity of it all. Not just the spectacle, but the deeper satire beneath, the bureaucracy that stifled creativity, the empty promises spun by those in power, the fragile facades we all maintained. The calf's magic was holding up a funhouse mirror to society, amplifying its flaws until they couldn't be ignored. But with every step, the question gnawed at me: could I fix this? Could I find the unfunniest word before the joke turned into an eternal nightmare? I felt the weight of the calf's laughter pressing in, a relentless tide threatening to drown reason and sense. Gerald's voice pulled me back from my spiraling thoughts. "You are not alone in this, Max, but you'd better hurry. The cracks in reality are getting bigger, and the trickster is enjoying every second." I nodded, swallowing hard. This was no longer just my problem. It was a battle for sanity itself, and I had to win. But as the city twisted and turned with every passing moment, I couldn't help but wonder how much of this was still real, and how much was just the punchline of a joke too big to laugh at. The fractures were spreading, and so was the madness. The question was, would I be able to put the pieces back together before the whole world shattered into laughter? Or would I become just another absurd punchline in a cosmic joke with no end? Only one thing was certain: the calf's magic was no longer contained, and the joke was far from over. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and stepped forward. The hunt for the unfunniest word was just beginning. And this time, the stakes were higher than ever. As the shadows lengthened, and the city's twisted symphony of laughter and chaos played on, I couldn't shake the feeling that the next step might be the one that changed everything or ended it all. And so, with a crooked smile and a heart pounding in sync with the frantic pulse of this absurd world, I plunged deeper into the fracturing reality. Because sometimes, when the world falls apart, the only thing left to do is laugh just a little less loudly. It was a peculiar sensation, standing outside a cafe that gleamed with the sort of polished modernity that made me, in my usual disheveled state, feel like a dog left on the doorstep of a diamond merchant. The neon lights danced and fractured across the wet pavement, reflecting the city's incessant hum, but instead of comfort, their fractured patterns stirred up the nervous flutter in my chest. Today was the day I was going to see Evelyn, my sister, the one person I hadn't spoken to in years. Mostly because I was too terrified of what silence between us had grown into. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, the worn fabric of my coat catching on a loose thread, a fitting metaphor for my life as it currently was. The cafe of infinite laughter had turned my world upside down, and now I was about to turn my personal world inside out. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Inside, the air was thick with the rich scent of coffee and something indefinably surreal, a whiff of something magical. Or perhaps just the brewing of a city-sized punchline. The cafe's usual hum felt muted, as if the place itself held its breath. And there she was, sitting at a small table by the window, her sharp features illuminated by the afternoon sun. Evelyn. Professional, poised, the sort of woman who seemed to have her life stitched together with iron needles. She looked up as I approached, her eyes narrowing slightly, a mixture of surprise, suspicion, and something I struggled to name. "Max," she said, voice clipped but not unkind, "I wasn't sure you'd come." I managed a crooked smile, the one that usually came out when I was trying to mask panic. Neither was I. We sat, the silence thick and awkward, before Evelyn finally broke it. "Have you heard about the cafe?" she said, her tone skeptical. "I don't know what kind of madness you've gotten yourself into, but this isn't the life I imagined for you." My heart sank. It wasn't just about the cafe, it was about years of disappointment, of failed gigs, of jokes that missed their mark and dreams that went up in smoke. "You don't understand," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's not just a place. It's like the whole world's laughing or crying because of me." Evelyn's eyes softened for a fleeting moment. "I'm worried about you, Max. You've always been the funny one, but sometimes I think you use that to hide who you really are." I laughed, but it came out hollow. Maybe that's true. But right now I need to fix this. I need to find the unfunniest word, the thing that'll undo all this chaos. She shook her head, frustrated. "You think words are that powerful? Maybe you rewrite. But maybe some things are better left unsaid." The cafe's magic flickered around us for a moment, a shimmer of impossible light, a whisper of laughter that didn't quite reach a smile. For once I dropped the sarcasm. "I'm scared, Evelyn," I confessed, "not just of the cafe, but of what I've become." She reached across the table, her hand lingering over mine. "Then don't let it define you." We parted soon after, Evelyn's retreating silhouette framed by the cafe's neon glow. I stood alone amid the swirling absurdity, the weight of our conversation settling like a stone in my gut. But beneath that weight, a spark flickered, a reminder that even in the strangest places, hope could take root. As I turned back toward the chaos of the cafe and the quest ahead, I realized that this journey wasn't just about fixing the world outside. It was about mending the fractures within myself, starting with the sister I hope to someday laugh with again, not just at. And so, with the city's neon lights winking their absurd secrets, I stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever punchlines or pitfalls awaited. Because if this cafe had taught me anything, it was that laughter could break you down or build you up, and I was determined to choose which. The cafe of infinite laughter had always been a strange place, but that evening, as the neon lights flickered in their strange, unnatural rhythm, it felt different, more urgent somehow. I found myself sitting across from Luna in a shadowy corner of the cafe. The usual cacophony of laughter and clinking cups fading into a muffled hum that barely penetrated the bubble of quiet between us. Luna's bright purple hair caught what little light there was, casting an eerie glow around her face. Her usual mischievous grin was tempered, softened into something genuine, almost vulnerable. It was a side of her I hadn't seen before, and frankly, it made me uncomfortable. But I needed answers, and Luna was the closest thing I had to a guide in this lunatic asylum of humor run amok. "I guess it's time I told you," she began, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. "About why I'm here, why I've been stuck in this endless loop of jokes and chaos." I leaned in, the smell of stale coffee and something faintly metallic filling my nostrils. The cafe, for all its whimsy, had a constant undercurrent of something else. Something darker, something hungry. Luna took a deep breath, her eyes flickering briefly with a shadow of pain. "I used to be a poet. Not just any poet, I was... well, let's just say I had a voice that stirred people, made them think. But then this place, the cafe, it trapped me. Slowly, like a spider weaving silk. I tried to fight it, tried to escape, but the magic here is strong and it feeds on laughter, on chaos. I'm part of its machinery now." Her words hung heavy between us. I wanted to ask how, why, but she waved a hand, signaling me to wait. "The trickster," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "That's the entity behind all this madness. It's not just some prankster spirit. It's a shape-shifting force, born from the collective laughter and jokes of countless souls. It thrives on chaos and feeds off the energy we unwittingly give it. And it's smart, dangerous. It's the reason the cafe's magic is unraveling the world." I swallowed hard, the weight of the revelation pressing down on my chest. All this time I thought I was just a guy trapped in a surreal joke gone wrong, but this was bigger, darker, more alive. Luna reached into the pocket of her worn jacket and pulled out a small, battered notebook. The leather was cracked, the edges worn soft from years of handling. She handed it to me with a steady hand. "This belonged to me before all this," she said. "It's filled with poems, symbols, bits of knowledge I gathered about the cafe's magic. It might be the key to understanding how to stop the trickster, or at least how to survive its games." I flipped through the pages, the strange symbols making little sense at first. But beneath them were fragments of poetry that hinted at order amid madness, at silence amid laughter. Suddenly, the cafe around us seemed to ripple. The walls pulsed, the neon lights flickered erratically, and the laughter warped into a distorted cacophony. The air thickened, and a chill ran down my spine. The trickster was near. Luna's eyes met mine, flashing with something I hadn't seen before: fear. "It knows we're replanning something. It's watching, waiting, and it's hungry." I nodded, the resolve hardening inside me. This wasn't just about fixing a broken joke anymore. It was a battle for reality itself. "Thank you, Luna," I said quietly, "for trusting me." She shrugged, a faint smirk returning to her lips. "Don't get used to it, Max. The cafe has a way of chewing people up and spitting them out. But maybe, just maybe, you're the one who can make it stop." And with that, the silence between us was shattered by a sudden burst of raucous laughter echoing through the cafe, louder, more manic than ever. The game was on, and the trickster had just dealt its next hand. I closed the notebook, feeling the weight of every word, every joke, every laugh that had led us here. The path ahead was uncertain, twisted with absurdity and danger, but I knew one thing for sure: I wasn't backing down. Not now. Because if the trickster wanted a war of words, then it was about to get one hell of a fight. And maybe, just maybe, the unfunniest word was closer than I thought. As I looked at Luna, her mischievous grin now fully back, I realized this was no longer just a quest to fix a joke. This was a fight for sanity, for meaning, for the fragile line that kept laughter from turning into madness. And I was right in the middle of it. The cafe's magic pulsed around us, alive and unpredictable. Somewhere deep inside, I knew the trickster was watching, waiting, and laughing. But this time, I wasn't just a punchline waiting to happen. I was the punchline's reckoning. The battle was just beginning.